It was a cold Monday morning when Jaden walked into class. His shoes were old, his backpack was torn, but his eyes held quiet hope. He didn't speak much. Most days, he just listened, wrote notes, and kept to himself. But today felt different. Today, he wanted to try. Mrs. Wilson, the science teacher, wrote a question on the board about helicopters. Jaden's eyes lit up. He had read about that topic last night in an old library book. Slowly, he raised his hand. The class turned to look. Jaden never raised his hand. Some students looked surprised. A few smiled. Even Mrs. Wilson paused. But before she could call on him, the classroom door swung open. It was Principal Roberts. Tall, well-dressed, and known for his strict rules and sharp tongue, Principal Roberts walked in like he owned the world. He always wore a tight suit, polished shoes, and a deep frown. He looked around, then pointed directly at Jaden. "You again," he said loudly. "Why are you wasting time pretending to know the answer? Let the smart kids speak." The classroom went silent. Jaden lowered his hand slowly. His smile faded. The other kids looked at each other. A few giggled nervously, not knowing what to do. One boy whispered, "Why is he always so mean to Jaden?" Mrs. Wilson looked uncomfortable but said nothing. The principal didn't stop. He walked closer to Jaden's desk. "Tell me," he said with a smirk, "do you even know how helicopters work? Or do you just want attention like always?" Jaden stayed quiet. His fingers gripped the side of his desk, but his lips didn't move. His heart beat fast. His mind was racing. He did know the answer. He knew more than the textbook. But this moment, this public shame, made his throat feel tight. Principal Roberts laughed. "That's what I thought." Silence. "Maybe you should focus on cleaning up your life before trying to act smart." The insult hit hard. Jaden's classmates stared at him with wide eyes. No one had ever heard an adult speak like that to a kid. But the worst part, Jaden didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just looked down and stayed silent. After a few more seconds of awkward silence, Principal Roberts turned and left the room. As the door closed behind him, a heavy air filled the classroom. No one spoke for a while. Mrs. Wilson cleared her throat and continued the lesson, but the mood was different now. Jaden didn't raise his hand again. When the bell rang, he packed his things slowly. He waited until most students had left. Only one person stayed behind, Emily, a kind girl who sat near the window. She walked over and said softly, "Hey, I saw your hand. I know you knew the answer." Jaden looked up, surprised. Emily smiled. "You're smarter than most of us. Don't let him make you feel small." Jaden gave a small nod. That was all he could manage. His voice still wouldn't come out. Outside the school, Jaden walked home alone. The cold wind blew against his thin jacket. His house was small, made of old bricks and a noisy metal roof. His mom wasn't home yet. She worked late at the diner. Jaden sat at the small kitchen table. He opened his notebook. Inside were pages full of helicopter sketches, labeled parts, and notes. He had been studying them for months. Not for school, but because he loved it. On the last page was a drawing of his dream. Jaden's Skyhawk 900, a helicopter designed by a 12-year-old dreamer. Under the drawing, he had written in small, careful letters, "One day I will fly." That night, he didn't eat much. He didn't say much, but he made a decision. He wouldn't let that moment break him. He would prove them wrong. As he closed his notebook, he whispered to himself, "They saw me as nothing, but I'll show them I'm more." Outside, the stars shined bright, and somewhere in the distance, a soft hum of a helicopter passed through the night sky. Jaden looked up from the window and smiled for the first time that day. Tomorrow was a new day, and it was bringing something no one could expect. The next morning, Jaden woke up before the sun. He didn't wait for his alarm. He had hardly slept. The night before, after the humiliation at school, he had made a promise to himself. He would not stay silent anymore. He washed his face in cold water, wore his cleanest shirt, and packed his worn-out notebook. As he zipped up his bag, his mom entered the kitchen, still in her uniform from the night shift. Her eyes were tired, but they lit up when she saw Jaden awake and ready. "You okay, baby?" she asked, brushing his hair gently. Jaden nodded. "I'm good, Mama. I just need to do something important today." She kissed his forehead and smiled. "Then go do it. You're stronger than they think." Jaden walked to school with a new kind of silence. Not fear, but focus. At school, things were the same on the outside. The same students, the same teachers, the same Principal Roberts walking down the hallway with his chest puffed out. But Jaden wasn't the same inside. He walked straight to the computer lab during break and sat in front of an old computer. He opened his email and clicked Compose. His fingers trembled slightly as he typed. Subject: Helicopter Design Submission. Jaden Morris, age 12, 2. info@skytechinnovations.com. Hello, my name is Jaden Morris. I am 12 years old and very interested in helicopter design. I have been drawing and studying helicopters for a long time. I recently created a model called Skyhawk 900. I don't have professional tools, but I believe it's a unique design. I am sending pictures from my notebook. Please take a look. Thank you for your time. Jaden. He attached scanned images of his drawings, carefully done by using the school copier, with the help of the librarian who always smiled at him, and hit send. Meanwhile, in a tall building far away, the CEO of Skytech Innovations, Mr. Marcus Blake, received hundreds of emails a day. But when his assistant showed him Jaden's email, something made him stop. The subject line was simple. The pictures were hand-drawn, but the design was incredible. "What's this?" Marcus asked. His assistant shrugged. "Just a kid. No background. No address. Just a name. Jaden Morris." Marcus looked at the drawing again. The angles, the shape, the energy-saving rotor system. This was not a typical child's sketch. This was real engineering thought. "Get me more on this kid," he said. Back in school, Jaden had no idea that his email had already traveled across the country and landed in the hands of a billionaire. He was just trying to survive another day. At lunch, some boys teased him again. "Hey, helicopter boy, ready to fly with your paper toys?" Jaden didn't reply. He just smiled slightly and kept eating. Emily saw this from a distance. She walked over to his table. "Did you send it?" she asked quietly. Jaden looked up, surprised. "Your notebook," she said. "I saw it the other day in the library. It's amazing." Jaden nodded. "Yeah, I sent it this morning. But I don't know if anyone will read it." "They will," she said with confidence. "They have to." Later that afternoon, while the class was solving math problems, Jaden's name was called on the school speakers. "Jaden Morris, please come to the principal's office." The room fell silent. Again, Jaden slowly got up. His heart beat faster. Was this about the email? Did he break a rule? He walked the hallway alone. When he entered the office, Principal Roberts was sitting at his desk, frowning. "So," the principal began, "I heard about your little project. You used school resources to send, what? A picture of a helicopter to some company." Jaden stayed quiet, confused. "Don't waste time dreaming, Morris," the principal continued. "This world doesn't work that way for kids like you." But just then, the school secretary knocked and entered, holding a phone. "Sir," she whispered, eyes wide. "There's a call from Skytech Innovations. They're asking for Jaden." The principal looked shocked. Jaden's eyes widened. His hands were shaking. He took the phone. Hello." A calm but excited voice replied. "Jaden Morris, this is Marcus Blake. I'm the CEO of Skytech. I just saw your design. Are you free to talk? Jaden's voice cracked slightly. Ah, yes, sir. I'm free. I'd like to meet you, Marcus said. In fact, I'm sending someone. Tomorrow. Get ready. Jaden stood frozen. His eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but pure disbelief. Principal Roberts stared at him, speechless. Jaden handed the phone back slowly. He's coming tomorrow. As Jaden walked back to class, the hallway felt different. He was still the same quiet boy, but now he was carrying something else inside him. Hope, power, and the beginning of a big change. That night, as the stars came out again, Jaden sat on the roof of his house, looking at the sky. He whispered, I'm not just gonna fly. I'm gonna soar. The sun had barely risen when people in Jaden's neighborhood started to notice something strange. A loud sound echoed in the sky. Not thunder, not music. It was a steady thump, 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 the sound of helicopter blades cutting through the morning air. Jaden was standing outside his small home, wearing his neatest clothes. His mother stood beside him, her eyes wide, her hands gripping her apron tightly. Emily and her father were down the street, watching in amazement. A few neighbors peeked out from their windows. Some came out holding phones, already recording. Then, through the morning mist, a sleek, black helicopter appeared in the sky. People gasped. The helicopter had the Skytech Innovations logo on it, a well-known brand that appeared in science magazines and on TV. It flew low, hovered for a moment, then slowly landed in the empty lot near Jaden's home. As the blade slowed, the side door opened. Out stepped a tall man in a suit, wearing sunglasses. Behind him was a woman with a tablet and another man carrying a briefcase. Jaden's eyes grew wide. He recognized the man from pictures online. It was Marcus Blake, the billionaire CEO of Skytech. Jaden Morris. Marcus called out with a smile. Jaden stepped forward, feeling the eyes of the whole neighborhood on him. Yes, sir. I'm Jaden. Marcus knelt slightly to meet his height. You sent us something very special, Jaden. That helicopter design. It's genius. Jaden blinked. You mean you really liked it? Marcus laughed. Kid, we have grown men in our office who couldn't come up with something that smart. We flew here because we didn't want to wait. We had to meet the boy who made it. Jaden's mom's hand flew to her mouth. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. The woman with the tablet stepped forward. We want to offer you something rare, Jaden. A full scholarship to our Young Inventors program. You'll work with engineers, visit real factories, and have mentors from our team. Jaden's heart felt like it was going to burst. He didn't know what to say. Thank you. But Marcus wasn't finished. We're also offering your school a donation to improve the science lab, under one condition. Jaden tilted his head. Marcus continued. The lab will be named after you. The Jaden Morris Innovation Lab. A few people clapped. Emily shouted, yes, and jumped up with joy. Jaden's mom started to cry quietly. She reached out and hugged her son tightly. But there was one more thing to do. By mid-morning, the helicopter had taken off again, but this time it headed not away, but straight toward Jaden's school. The principal, teachers, and all students had gathered outside. No one knew why a helicopter was coming. Whispers filled the air. Is it a celebrity? Some rich guy? Why are they landing here? Then, to everyone's surprise, out stepped Jaden Morris, holding Marcus Blake's hand. The crowd gasped. Jaden walked confidently. Behind him, Marcus smiled and waved at the students. Emily ran over to hug him. What's happening? One teacher whispered. The students were full of questions, but none were louder than the voice of Principal Roberts, who came rushing forward with a confused expression. What's the meaning of this? He asked Marcus sharply. Marcus took off his sunglasses. You must be Principal Roberts. Yes, and I'd like to know why. I'll be brief, Marcus interrupted calmly. This young man, he said, placing a hand on Jaden's shoulder, has more talent and intelligence than most adults I've worked with. You should be proud to have him here. Principal Roberts opened his mouth but said nothing. Marcus turned to the students and teachers. SkyTech is building a new science lab for your school. State-of-the-art. Fully equipped. But more importantly, this school will now tell the story of a boy who dreamed big. He paused and added, no one will ever call him just a kid again. The crowd erupted in cheers. Students clapped. Teachers looked amazed. And Principal Roberts, well, he didn't know where to look. His face turned red. Jaden looked at him silently, and for the first time, he wasn't afraid. He stepped forward and said in a clear voice, "Thank you for your attention, sir. I'll be in the lab if anyone needs help with helicopters." Laughter, cheers, even tears followed that sentence. For once, the quiet boy had spoken, and his voice shook the ground. That afternoon, news reporters showed up. Cameras flashed. Jaden was interviewed by local TV stations. Headlines read, "From humiliation to helicopter hero, Jaden Morris inspires a generation." A week after the helicopter landed at Jaden's school, things had changed, but not just for him. The whole school, even the town, was buzzing with energy. People who had never even noticed Jaden before were now waving at him, asking questions, and trying to take selfies. Some kids tried to act like they were always his friend. But Jaden stayed calm, quiet, and humble. The new science lab was already being planned. Engineers and workers from SkyTech had visited the school twice. A big space behind the school was cleared, and a shiny banner was hung on the fence. Coming soon, the JAYDEN Morris Innovation Lab. But that wasn't all. One morning, Jaden was called to the principal's office again. But this time, it was different. He wasn't nervous. He walked in, and this time Principal Roberts stood up and greeted him with a forced smile. "Jaden, there's a call for you on line 1, he said, trying to stay polite. Jaden picked up the phone. "Hello." "Jaden, this is Channel 9 News," said a woman's voice. "We'd like to do a live interview with you tomorrow morning. Our station wants to highlight your story. Also, we've been told you're presenting your helicopter design to some very important people soon." "Yes," Jaden replied shyly. "SkyTech invited me to their event." "That's what we heard," the reporter said. "The world will be watching." That night, Jaden's mom helped him choose his outfit. A local tailor had even made him a proper blazer. It wasn't expensive, but it fit him perfectly and made him feel like someone who mattered. "Are you nervous?" his mom asked. "A little," he said, "but also excited." She hugged him tightly. "I'm proud of you, baby, no matter what." The next morning, Jaden stood in front of hundreds of people at the SkyTech Global Conference. It was a big event held in a glass building in the city. News reporters were there. Scientists, engineers, and even government leaders filled the room. Jaden stood on the stage with his design projected on a huge screen behind him. Skyhawk 900 by Jaden Morris, age 12. He took a deep breath. The microphone felt cold in his hand. He looked at all the faces in the crowd, and he remembered the classroom where he was once laughed at, the principal who insulted him, and the empty lunch tables. Then he began to speak. "I'm not a rich kid. I don't go to a fancy school. But ever since I was little, I loved helicopters. I used to watch them fly and wonder, how does that work? I started drawing, reading, and building little models with cardboard." Some people in the audience nodded and smiled. "One day, someone told me that people like me don't belong in science. They laughed at me. They said dreams are only for some people. But I didn't stop." The room grew quiet. "Because my mom taught me that even when you're quiet, your ideas can still fly." A soft gasp moved through the audience. Some people had tears in their eyes. Jaden clicked a button, and an animation of his helicopter design played on the screen. It was clean, smart, and efficient. It used a special rotor system that saved fuel and created less noise. Skytech engineers had helped animate it, but the idea, the concept, and the design were all his. When the video ended, there was a moment of silence. Then, a standing ovation. People clapped, whistled, and cheered as Jayden smiled awkwardly but proudly. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered to each other. One lady even shouted, "That's the future right there." Marcus Blake stepped onto the stage and put a hand on Jayden's shoulder. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "this is the kind of genius that reminds us why we do what we do. Talent has no skin color, no zip code, no limit." Later that day, the video of Jayden's speech went viral. It was shared by thousands online. Comments poured in. "I cried watching this. This kid is a legend. Who's cutting onions?" People from all around the world sent letters and gifts. A group of young inventors in Japan even sent him a handmade model of his own helicopter, saying they were inspired by him. But the biggest shock came when Jayden returned home that evening. A large black car was waiting outside. A man in a suit stepped out and handed Jayden's mother a letter with a golden seal. She opened it slowly, her hands shaking. It was from the National Aviation Institute. They were offering Jayden a full scholarship. Starting now. Jayden read the letter once, then twice. His hands trembled. "You'll get to study with real pilots, engineers, and design experts," the man explained. "If you say yes, your journey starts this summer." Jayden looked up at his mom. She had tears running down her cheeks, but she was smiling from ear to ear. "You were born to fly," she whispered. That night, Jayden sat at his window, looking at the stars. He thought of the classroom, the insults, the silence. Then he thought of the applause, the hugs, the dreams that were now real. He opened his notebook and wrote one line. "One small voice can change the world." And somewhere far above, a helicopter passed quietly through the sky. It had been 6 months since the day Jayden stood on the stage and shared his dream with the world. 6 months since the helicopter landed at his school. And 6 months since everything changed. But today, something felt special. The air in the school buzzed with whispers again, just like it had the day of the helicopter. Teachers were tidying up classrooms. Students were peeking through windows. Even Principal Roberts was adjusting his tie more than usual. Jayden was coming back, not just as a student, but as a guest of honor. The schoolyard had been transformed. A red ribbon stretched across the entrance of the brand new science lab. Cameras were set up. Balloons floated gently in the breeze. A banner hung high above. "Well, see you home, Jayden Moraes." And then, there he was. Jayden stepped out of a black SUV, not wearing a school backpack, but a suit with a Skytech badge on the pocket. He was taller now, more confident, still quiet, but with eyes that carried stories. The crowd clapped. Teachers smiled. Some students cheered. "Jayden, Jayden." Emily rushed to hug him, tears in her eyes. "You really did it," she whispered. Jayden smiled. "We did it." Principal Roberts approached, holding a pair of scissors for the ribbon cutting. He cleared his throat. "Jayden," he said slowly, "I'd like to apologize. I didn't see your worth before, but I see it now. I was wrong." Jayden looked at him, paused, and nodded gently. "Thank you, sir." No anger, no pride, just grace. Then, with the whole school watching, Jayden cut the red ribbon. The crowd erupted in applause. Teachers led everyone inside the new lab, where shiny equipment lined the walls. Computers, 3D printers, circuit kits, even a mini drone testing area. At the center was a plaque that read, "The Jayden Moraes Innovation Lab," in honor of those who dream, even when the world tells them not to. Jayden gave a short tour, answering questions from students, showing off the tools. He even helped a younger boy build a small paper helicopter, just like he used to do. After the tour, a teacher asked, "Jayden, What's next for you? He looked out the window for a moment before replying. There's a SkyTech internship waiting for me next summer. But before that, I just wanted to come back here to show everyone, especially the kids like me, that we're not invisible. We matter. And dreams don't need permission. The teacher blinked away tears. The students looked at him like he was a hero. And then came the moment no one expected. Jaden walked back to his old classroom, the very one where he had been humiliated. He stood silently in front of the desk where he once sat alone. One by one, students came in and joined him. Emily placed a small model of the Skyhawk 900 on the teacher's desk. Jaden took a deep breath and spoke softly. This is where I was told I'd never be more than a quiet kid. This is where I was laughed at. But this is also where I started dreaming. He paused. And sometimes, all it takes is one person believing in you. My mom, my friend, one teacher, one chance. He turned to the class and smiled. Now I believe in all of you. Silence. And then, slow clapping from the back. It grew louder, louder, until the room was filled with standing applause. That evening, as the sun set and the school emptied, Jaden stood alone in front of the building. He looked up at the banner one last time. His mom walked up behind him, gently touching his shoulder. Proud? She asked. Jaden smiled softly. More than proud. I'm just getting started. As they walked toward the car, the wind picked up, and a single paper helicopter, folded by one of the younger students, flew from the science lab window into the sky. Jaden reached out and caught it. He opened it up. Inside, written in messy handwriting, were the words, I want to build like you one day. Jaden looked up at the stars and whispered to himself, You will.